Welcome to the webinar. Actually, the performance appraisal system has been shifted in recent years. Significantly, it has been shifted. A lot of things have changed. So in the analog world, if you say that was annual appraisals, performance rating kind of count and compare kind of this was. But the focus of the organization, what we can see, the shifted how they can perform better, how we can help them in to evolve their performance. That is the focus. What the shift we see in recent years. The agenda for the discussion today is that would be what the PMS challenges are, what the modern performance management practices are there, and how the companies can have continuous conversations, how effective the conversations companies have the effective conversation with their employees, how they can share the feedback. So this would be the agenda for the discussion today, and we have an excellent panel, very rich and experienced panel for the discussion today. First, let me introduce Mr. Pradyuman Pandey. Mr. Pradyuman is a Chief Human Resource Officer, currently working with the Mother Dairy with around 30 years of experience. Previously has been with the companies like SEC, Holcim, Shriram Group, JK Tires, and Torrent Pharma, etc. Another panelist I would like to introduce Ms. Chetna Gogia. Chetna is currently working as a Chief Human Resource Officer with the Gogwig. That is a high-growth startup and tech industry which supports the e-commerce services. Chetna has around 2 decades of experience in HR and earlier has been with the companies like Akash Institute, Policy Bazaar, and PayU India, etc. Another panelist is Mr. Ansh Agrawal. Ansh is currently working as a Senior Manager Marketing with the Zimyo, that is an HR tech platform. So first, I would like to come to you, Mr. Pradyuman. How do you see the shift in PMS and how the modern methods brought the significant changes?
Thank you, Romy, for inviting me in this discussion. So let me start with talking about the importance of PMS first. Then, because we always see as, if you ask someone, the answer comes that it's to manage your reward and performance. Yes, it is. But if you limit it to only reward and performance, then you are missing the crux, the thing for which PMS can be used. Like with my experience, I can say that a performance management system can be used as a tool to drive a culture in the organization, to drive performance orientation in the organization. If that becomes the agenda, that becomes the idea of PMS, that gives the benefit to organization. Even if you want to drive transparency within the organization, whether you can use PMS. So only using it for reward and recognition and not looking the broader perspective of PMS, I think there somewhere we as HR, we fail. I have always seen PMS as something which gives me a feel about the future, that where my performance is going down. If the performance data, now technology is coming in, Zimyo will, I think that is the platform which can help that if those details, performance details are at one platform, you can at least get that feel where we are going, where we need to focus upon. Second is when it gives a clarity in the organization. See, if you don't have those performance discussions, what I say, meaningful interaction within the organization to talk about what are the expectations from employees. I think PMS should drive those expectations. As an employer, as an organization, what is my expectation from employees? What I want to them to come with, what level of excellence we want. All those things should come through PMS. And when we talk about importance of PMS, definitely you talk about employee retention, you talk about boosting employee engagement, anything you talk about in the organization which HR drives, PMS can put its positive impact. That is one. You are talking about modern. I think my panelist Chetna will talk much more about what modern things are in, because she represents an organization which are in new age organizations. But for me as HR, those who still want to see that this performance management system brings a value into the organization, the first thing which they have to do is they have to understand that what framework they need into the organization. If they want to roll out an PMS system, definitely, whether it is your OKR, objective key results, how you do that. So the first thing is you have to freeze your mind on what framework you want to take forward. Once you do that, like when we talk about objective key results, like as on date, we see that we do half-yearly review, we do yearly reviews. But now the trend is that you have milestones for each goal, yearly, monthly milestones, quarterly milestones. You have to create those milestones for each key result. Creating a discussion, meaningful interaction around those milestones becomes more important to support the individual employee to achieve those goals and to contribute towards overall organization growth. That is one. Important in PMS is also that you share a big picture with your employees, and technology can help in that. When we go ahead in the discussion, when we talk about technology, how your goals are cascaded down, that becomes important. And technology can bring a lot of positive things into this, the way it can be cascaded. See, now, if you see an organization, I have experienced, the person making strategy is someone else. Those who are rolling out goals are different. There is no connection between what is your 5-year strategy for the organization and what the goals are. I think technology, AI-driven processes, they all help us in those bringing those alignment. So important is to bringing that alignment on goals. Third tip, I will say, again, as I said, that you should define goals, milestones for different goals. And that is what will be helping us to take this forward. And finally, yes, PMS system as a software you have to adopt, because that helps not only creating a robust, transparent system in the organization, but also it gives you a predictive ability of predictive analysis. It also gives you a, even you talk about succession planning. These platforms gives you a very clear indication who is next, who can move further, what support is needed. And that's why I said that PMS has to be used to create development and training strategies for the organization. The data which is coming out of those discussions need to be used for development activities within the organization. So this is my take. I think PMS, I always say that it is something where, whether as an HR person, you are putting your heart and soul in that or not. System can be, definitely technology is coming in, you can't stop it. Technology is there, and you have to get into those technology things in your system. But until unless you as HR create an environment where people trust your process and systems, that becomes important. Even in traditional performance appraisal, if your appraisal discussions are not to that level there where people feel free to share their concerns, if they don't feel free to ask for support, I think you are missing the target. So this is what I just wanted to, as an opening remark, that yes, PMS system is important. PMS system needs technology in now. Nobody can stop. I think how the other organizations, I present in my organization, I know that we have half-yearly review, we have yearly reviews, but I ensure that those reviews are structured one. If there is a requirement of 15 half an hour discussion, it should be half an hour. It should not be that we just have a cup of tea and move away. So that monitoring is required, and that support to the system is required. Thank you. That is what, as an opening remark, I will say.
Thank you so much for elaborating a lot of points what the changes has been there in PMS system. Chetna, would you like to add something to this?
Absolutely. I think thank you so much, Pradyuman, for a great opening. And I think he covered most of it. Honestly, he covered, how the modern side of the PMS works, why it is important. I think what probably I can just add to is the perspective of the PMS. And I simply feel, yes, it is very, very important. And today, in today's time, performance management helps to boost employee engagement and the productivity of the organization. Engaged employee will stay longer with you, actively get involved themselves in the workplace and produce better results. And that's exactly why you need a performance management system. And improving the levels of employee engagement is the key to boosting productivity and maximizing the ROI for the organization. Today, if you do not have a right set of PMS, if you do not have the right set of goals, you cannot have the right productivity and Obviously, what you want to today measure is basically the ROI, where every organization wants the best of the results, wants to do best in what they are doing, and obviously get to the results of being productive organizations. It will not be possible if you do not have a robust performance management system. And I think, as Pradyuman mentioned about the milestone, just would like to state an example today. For example, at GoQuick, we started with the OKR methodology, and when we started the OKR methodology, we realized that with the top management we are doing so, and the certain goals which we are cascading down, are they really meaningful? Are they really making sense to the employees? And that's exactly the milestone of what Pradyuman said. We've added monthly check-in, and that monthly check-in have a repeated conversation of employees to understand where they are failing, what they are doing better, how they can be better, are probably the conversation to get the feedback in terms of how they have done so far, so that they don't have to wait for a quarter, or they don't have to wait for another year or maybe 6 months to know what they were doing was not even required. So the times have changed. That's exactly what I would add to the modernization of how the whole systems have seen. So this monthly check-in helps people to get feedback, to share what they're doing, and to share where they need help. So really, they don't have to wait for their cycle to come and then get some rating which they don't deserve. And I think with times, as it has changed, and it has kind of come to the level where managers also understand that a continuous conversation is the important and the most important thing in today's world. I think a lot have gotten better. And that's exactly where every company, from a large setup to a small organization, and especially in the startups where there is more chaos, the goals change every now and then, or probably something new comes up, or that there is something which you need to have more focus on, obviously keeps changing. And for that change, you have to communicate more. And for that communication, the whole cycle of milestone, the whole cycle of performance management comes in play. And I think there are more topics which we will be discussing amongst ourselves in terms of what are the best practices we have in the organization. But just to summarize, I think absolutely performance management is something which helps boost the employee engagement and the productivity for any organization. Doing it well will get you more productivity. Doing it wrong may take you down the level where obviously it'll be very difficult for you to then take the things forward. So I would like to add this to Pradyuman, but I think he's nicely put it in terms of how the technology also is very important, because obviously there were times when performance management were done more havoc, and obviously there was no systems which were supporting the performance management to get tracked, to have certain check-ins. And obviously Zimyo is another tool which obviously have come up, which I'm sure would be having a way of recording the conversations, recording certain check-ins, and making sure how an employee interacts more often, and especially records what has been done in this particular week, month, and so on. And I think those systems record certain things and make the whole performance management more objective. The problem so far in traditional ways were the subjectivity, where obviously you do not have content, where you do not have the objectivity of doing the things how it has to be done. So I think these technologies have helped, to get to that objectivity state of mind and being more productive, is what I would like to add to what Pradyuman said.
Yeah, thank you, Chetna. Obviously, the frequent conversations and the quality of feedback, that is very important. Yeah. So, as a HR tech industry, would you like to add something?
So, I guess Pradyuman and Chetna have summed up pretty well all the things. So, right from starting the PMS, how things used to work in when there was no technology as such, to right now what modern HR tech companies are doing and how they are bringing new technology side from the PMS side. So, Chetna rightly mentioned that setting up the right objectives and measuring them and communicating to the ensure that that gets communicated to the top management, to the middle management, and to the people who are working closely. That's what is important. Getting the feedback, continuous feedback on a monthly, on a weekly, on a quarterly basis is what is important. And that's how Zimyo has come into place. Performance management and employee engagement both work hand in hand. Without that, there is no scope in terms of improving the overall employees and organizations as such, achieving the objectives and the KRAs. So this is what I have to add. I guess Zimyo will play Zimyo is going to play a crucial role here, and we are here to stay along in the HR tech space, and that's what I have to add.
Thank you, Ansh. Actually, post-pandemic, the remote working, that is the biggest shift we can see. The working models have changed. So here, as a high growth industry and new age employees are there in your industry, Chetna. So how do you see, what are the challenges in managing the performance with the kind of your industry, especially when the people are working remotely? So what is your take on this?
Absolutely. I think there's a major shift when it comes to the remote working. Obviously, earlier it used to be a casual corridor chat. It used to be somebody, a manager sitting with an employee talking about how can I fix your problems. Now, for everything, there has to be a meeting set up. There has to be time which you need to take from another employee or your manager, and you have to schedule your meeting, which has becoming difficult. And obviously, it becomes more structured. Earlier, from a non-structured way, also you were delivering a lot of things, and you were making sure that the message goes in. But now what has happened is with the remote working, everything has moved virtual. And for virtual, you have to take out time. You have to make sure that, it gets into the system, or probably, you have time for that person, take out that, bandwidth to make sure that, you obviously have a casual chat with it. So I think that that's where an HR plays an important role to kind of, get to that, or bridge that gap, and make sure that how you make sure that a manager and employee is having that conversation. Therefore, that's why I said why monthly check-ins is what we have introduced. That makes sure a proper mechanism of a manager and employee chatting over in terms of where the help is required, how he has done in that month, what he can do better, and so on. And that's the reason why we feel that, obviously a corridor chat has gone away from where there were so many ways of, employee and manager connecting more often. Now it is more a shift of how you get some structure in place, how you make sure that conversation happens. At the same time, it gets to a level where, an employee gets the right feedback. So those are very structured discussions which we have kept it. We have made 3-4 pointers which has to be covered when you're having a conversation, making sure that you give the feedback, you ask for the help, you say, what have you done well? Do you need anything else, to make you, or probably how you can be more successful, and how I, as a manager, contribute to your learning journey. So I think obviously there are challenges, but with those challenges, I think we have kind of learned our way to do things differently, and making sure how we can get to the level where exactly, a manager and an employee can have that conversation in the remote setup too.
Yeah, thank you, Chetna. Ansh, since the most of the things are remotely, so virtual conversations are there. So as a HR tech industry, how do you think, what would like to add here?
So before 2020, before COVID hit, and most of the part was affected, most of the world was affected, there was no concept as such from work from home, at least in India. So it's post-COVID only that we have got this concept of work from home, and we've got this concept of employee engagement, increased employee engagement, and ensuring that we get to interact with more people. So what I see where HR tech has come in place is getting to communicate more, ensuring that there is a set of processes and getting people to communicate, getting managers to communicate more with their subordinates and with their people. So consider this: we did a survey with a few of the HR managers, and they told us that what we asked them, that what exactly do you think their performance management system lacks, and they gave us 4-5 pointers that it lacks agility. There's no it lacks a continuous feedback mechanism. So it's rudimentary. So these were the 3-4 things that they mentioned. So what actually it shows is, even in the work from home scenario, the performance management system becomes more crucial. Setting up the right OKRs, ensuring that there is a transparency of the KPIs and the KRAs and of the objectives that the company wishes to achieve, and even the lower level executives are well aware of what the company wants to achieve. So this is where the HR tech players come in.
So, Pradhuman, your industry is manufacturing, so that is, I can understand that is not much more remote working is possible there. But still, there has been some changes into the work models, also with the manufacturing setups. Some of the people, they are working also remotely there. So what the changes you see, how you conduct these appraisals, and how you have the conversations with your employees, if we talk about in current days?
Let me give you the answer in two different sections. One is definitely the challenges which we are being faced because of COVID. For sure, post-COVID, as HR or as an organization, we need to reimagine, reconstruct all process and systems. That is the biggest thing which should be our focus upon. We should focus upon. Like earlier, the mentoring discussions which were normally being done on coffee table, whether those discussions can be digitized. Every activity which was happening in our office, can that be digitized? That is the focus which, as HR, we should drive now. Because whether with technology was sure it was to come, it has bit early that we are facing this urgency now. But that focus of first, that mindset of accepting that everything can be digitized, that is what we need to first create. That everything can be done digitally. If that commitment, that mindset is with you, you can drive anything in your organization. But let me talk about those challenges which were, whether it was pre-COVID or post-COVID, remain same for PMS. See, the first is lack of alignment. You go to any organization, talk about their goal setting process. You will feel that the goals are not complementing the overall organization strategy. If that is there, that is the first thing we need to correct. And that is a challenge of cascading. I think technology helps now in cascading those goals. It is a very simple way of doing that. It doesn't allow you to move forward in the process until unless you create your goals in time. Because time is very important for any of the process, for its creating a trust among employees. If you don't do it in time, I think that people lose the trust. Because if you do target setting at the year end before you are doing your appraisal, then I have seen those examples where people are fixing targets based on what they have achieved during the year. So that it is on paper. So I think technology records everything. It gives you a very clear evidence of what was done when. And I think that is where technology helps. Second is, I think, lack of measurements. It was pre-COVID, post-COVID. You are trying to fix up your KRAs, but if those are not measurable, you will never create the transparency within the system. The way you measure them, your KRAs becomes important. So measurable KRAs, measurable targets, measurable goals, that becomes very important. The third challenge is the management commitment itself. I see that leaders don't have time for talking to the talents in the organization. That is the biggest thing where we lack. PMS performance can be managed only when you have those meaningful interaction regularly with your talents. And sometimes I know that the universe is very large. So I will recommend everyone who is listening that they should go through a book which is called Differentiated Talent Management. It is there. It talks about focusing your efforts more on the people, those who are occupying your critical positions. So there can be, like, you can have a different way of monitoring there. If you are having half yearly and yearly performance appraisal for others, why not monthly for those who are holding critical positions? So first is identifying those people. The first step in this direction goes, which are my critical positions first, which are making the most maximum impact on my results. And after identification, those critical positions, who are the critical position holders, and then focusing my efforts on that. That is the challenge we as HR we should take. And this book, which is Differentiated Talent Management, is a wonderful book which talks about the system to how we can create that. And in PMS, I think managing poor performance is the biggest challenge for us. We are reactive in managing poor performance. We, at the year end, when we see that there is someone who is non-performer, we put him into PIP. But am I putting my efforts from the beginning of the year to see that all support is given to him, all mentoring is done, coaching is done to see that he moves out of that non-performance tag. And there, I think, again, I'm saying technology will help, because collecting of evidence, collecting of measurement data, everything goes very smooth with technology. So these challenges are there, but yes, one is you can sort it out with technology, but other is your own commitment as HR person, your own commitment as leadership team towards the PMS, that yes, we want to deliver a performance orientation in the organization through this system. That is what from my end.
Absolutely, Pradyuman, you have highlighted what the challenges has been since long and what the new challenges are there. You also referred one book. So someone from the participant is asking to repeat the name of that book.
Differentiated Talent Management. I'm forgetting the name of the author.
You can also drop in a chat if.
I will do. Let me.
So, Ansh, actually, if we talk about the purpose on the performance appraisal, so we also have a purpose like how we can engage our employees and they can perform better. So how do you correlate with the performance and employee engagement, and how do you see that, what is the role of HR technology into this?
So first, Ramesh, we need to understand what employee engagement is all about. So is it about just giving rewards to their employees? Is it about just having Friday parties, weekend parties, or is it about money? No, according to me, no, that's not employee engagement. Employee engagement is a multifaceted thing where we talk about culture, where we talk about benefits, where we talk about transparency in terms of the business objectives. So consider this, according to Gallup, so the engaged companies where the employees are much more engaged, they tend to get 2.5 times more revenue as compared to the companies which have less engaged employees. So what this actually shows is the employee engagement is very crucial for setting things up and ensuring. So it all boils down to empathy-based employee engagement. If you have an empathy-based employee engagement, that's where you succeed. What we have done at Zimyo here, the premise for Zimyo, setting up of Zimyo was basically the benefits that we have, where we do give group medical insurance, group term life insurance. So empathy-based building employee engagement is what we're building on. That's where when the empathy is covered, that's when the performance of an employee comes up, and the performance management comes into picture, where the performance will improve of an employee. Now, when you talk about the performance as such and employee engagement, we have also built a tribe-like feature, tribe feature, which is something similar to Slack, where employees can directly chat with each other, and they can manage their tasks and all those things within the tribe. So how HR tech can come into place? So this is the thing that we're talking about. Having building the benefits modules, building culture, building the loyalty. Consider this: there are companies which are facing a lot of attrition right now, and that's because of the company they don't have a loyalty. So all this can be done through an increased employee engagement and having an empathy-based employee engagement. Coming to the performance management system, if I talk about, so consider this: only according to a study by Gartner, only 6% of the employees have said that their OKRs are being measured correctly. So setting a right OKRs, setting a right KPIs, KRAs, that's what is important. If I talk about here at Zimyo, even in my department, what we do is we have a set KPIs for an organic team that, okay, this much traffic that you have to bring in to get these many MQLs. So that's how we do it. And that's how the end business, if we bring in these many MQLs, this is the end result of an SQL, and this is the number of closures that we will do. So that's how we have done it. I think this is what we have done. Ramesh, over to you.
Yeah, Ansh, thank you for sharing your views. Chetna, actually the engagement also, that the learning part is also important. When we are talking about the performance management, so learning must be there. So how they learn so that they can engage with the organization. Everyone here is to grow for the growth itself. So how do you connect the performance with the employee engagement, and how do you see the role, if you can also a little bit highlight on the technology part?
Absolutely. So, Ramesh, I think I'll go back on our previous conversation where I just talked about how engaged employees stay longer. At the same time, if you actively involve them, they produce better results, right? And similarly, I think the technology makes sure that whatever conversations you're having, which are sometimes more subjective in nature, and to our conversation, which me and Pradyumna were just discussing, how it is very important for a manager to give the right feedback, and how it is important a manager to convey what is required or what has to be changed or what changes he wants to see in the employee. That is where technology plays an important role, because it records what has been discussed, it records what is required, it records a certain objective way of doing certain things. If you are saying the person has to perform X number of a level of work, or the person has to do this much coding this week, that technology makes sure that it simplifies and makes sure it comes into the objective way of setting that goal. And that's exactly how technology, in a way, plays a very important role. And from the engagement standpoint and the learning which you touched upon, I think engagement standpoint, obviously, if you give them a clear goals, if you tell them what is expected out of them, they'll actively involve themselves and they know what is expected out of me. And obviously, there'll be no delta of where they feel we are somewhere in the dark, we don't know what to do and how to do. And that somewhere will be solved by the technology. And on the learning path, I think once you have a clear understanding of what you're expected to do, things which you don't know, things which you don't foresee, things which you don't know how to complete probably, are the things where you obviously have your learning journey perspective. So today, for example, when we do the goal setting, when we have the continuous conversation, we make sure that we have a clear guidelines from a manager to give feedback to the employee. We clearly carve out their IDPs, their individual development plans, which results in their learning journey, which results what kind of certification they should do, what kind of learning courses they should go for, what kind of focused approach they should take it when it comes to applying that feedback to the learning journey. And that's only possible through technology, because if technology can give you the platform to record certain things, it is not in the air, it is not just discussed, forgotten later, there is no actionable on it. Technology makes sure you have a slicing of data, there's a slicing of what kind of data, what is the throughput, what is that actionable from that entire learning, and how do you apply that then. And there is when it comes to actionable, obviously you make sure that you do certain things in a right format, in a right way. And that's exactly where technology plays a very important role. And obviously your engagement, learning, goal setting, continuous conversations go hand in hand when it comes to that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chetna. Pradyuman, I would like to come to you. Now we are talking about how to set the goals, how to set the targets, what the objective of the organization is there. Before we decide what would be the process for the PMS, so the goal setting, that is also very important. So how do you see what the goal setting expectations framework, and how beneficial it could be in a long run?
So important is that employee own the goals. This agreement should come through a transparent discussion. And as I said, that it's very important to cascade down the goals, and not only down, you need to provide all support to the employees to achieve those goals. So how you are providing that support, how you are creating a framework around that becomes important in any organization. I will share a small experience when I was with the sugar company, when I was going around the plant. During that year, I tried to experiment by saying that there will be a facilitator in appraisal discussion. That was my experiment, when I said there will be a third person. And the whole idea of my putting a facilitator in appraisal discussion was my belief that any feedback session becomes very fruitful if it is done in a formal way. So if I have decided there should be 45 minutes discussion, I try to bifurcate the 45 minutes that who will say what time to the appraisee, what time for the appraiser, what time for the clarifying the doubts, what time, how much time to ask for the support. So when this discussion happened, and a very junior executive came out of that discussion when I was during a plant visit, he came to me and he said, I don't bother that what increment I will be getting, but at least I got an hour at least to talk about my achievements, to talk about what I have done, to ask for support, and to talk about where I am not, why I am not able to deliver on certain things. That environment we need to provide. Goal setting is fine. You will create goals, but how you are aligning those energies of employees towards overall organization goals, that becomes important. I think if employee feels that his inputs are valued and appreciated, that becomes important. And that, I think, when we talk about technology, I'm sure that because technology gives you a real-time information, and that empowers the leader to drive a motivation in the organization. See, if you know that somebody is doing good, somebody has achieved his targets, why not to go and appreciate him? Why not to go and recognize his efforts? That is one. And it's very easily, all technology, if you drive PMS through any technological platform, they will give you a performance trend for sure. You will be able to know that where we are moving, where we are lacking, any anomalies in the way, it will clearly give that indication. I think it provides a complete performance profile of an employee. That is what I have seen, because we have moved into those technology PMS. It gives entire, not only profile, even like it gives me audit trail access. What has happened, when it has happened, what time somebody has spent, which appraiser has not done justice while doing appraisal discussion, because if they are logging in for something online, it is recorded. That is how it is helping. So my point here is, technology is, yes, it is there. You can't avoid technology now, but your passion towards PMS, your commitment towards, as a leadership team, towards performance management, your passion towards creating an environment where employees are valued, your commitment towards where employees are empowered, are we doing all those things? That is where the performance, I think, it creates an environment where everybody wants to come and give their 200%. There comes the engagement levels. When we say engagement levels are high, this is the point where we can say this, yes, my team is engaged, because they are self-driven. If their goals are properly cascaded down, discussed with them, they own the goals. That is the point we need to create in an organization.
Thank you, Pradyuman. Chetna, when we are talking about the goal setting and expectations, so might be this may little vary from industry to industry, and might be the age of the employees, the what kind of the profile they carry. A lot of things are there. So according to your industry, how do you see?
When you say that, like, what exactly you mean by the aging of the people?
By the age of the people, by the profile of the people, that the goal setting that may differ by the profile.
Absolutely. Wise. It is like, one size fits all is never a right scenario to work on, right? It's different, even departments have different type of goals, and some have just to give you a context, and with the example, let me tell you, for example, I was speaking to my CTO, the head of technology yesterday, and I was just speaking to him that, we are still a little behind on our monthly feedback for some of the people, and the goal setting has still not been done. He said, see, Chetna, while we are into the culture environment of where goals kind of changes now and then, but I still want to give them the visibility at least for 2 quarters. There were the times when people used to have yearly goals. Those times are gone now. Now it is about short-term goals. It is about more objective way of goal setting, and at the same time, how that short-term goals you are trying to achieve. So a 2-quarter runway, if you're giving it to some employee, you expect that productivity for those 2 quarters. And beyond that, the person doesn't know what he's expected to do. But that's exactly the reality of how the new age organizations are working. And that's exactly how you have to change to the systems and make sure that a certain age groups to certain slicing of the departments works in such a different way. And you have to be adaptive of that way of working. And you have to make sure while, you have your people aiming to do the short-term goals, they understand what is expected out of them. And that short-term goal is for a short-term wins as well. Because now The productivity depends on what is my short-term goal and resulting the OKR of the leadership to a yearly OKR. So obviously you tie up to that OKR of what is a long-term OKR, but from the goal perspective for an employee, it is very important that they understand what is expected from them now. Because a long-term thing, long-term vision of going a year-long goal setting or achieving that particular goal for a year is no more practice nowadays, at least to the industry where I serve and to the changing times of how I've seen. A short-term goal setting helps better productivity, helps to align better, and obviously in certain ways of certain teams and departments, the way obviously of not obviously maybe for a technology it may be 2 quarters, for HR it may be 6 months, maybe for marketing it can go 1 year, slicing down to 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months check-ins. So it all depends on what is how deep is your problem statement and how you want to solve for that particular thing. So obviously the shift has been from very long-term goal setting to a short-term goal setting, and something which obviously percolates to how do you solve and kind of clarify or probably simplify the whole problem statement today. So that's what I would say on the slicing.
Yeah, thank you, Chetna. One direct question to you from the participants. That is, if an employee is capable of, but is not performing as per expectations, he or she is not unable to deliver KPIs in time. So what should be done in this scenario? This is a direct question to you.
Yeah, I know. I read that question. So I think thanks for the question. I would say there are two things when it comes to somebody there in the system not performing. One is the will issue. Second is the skill issue. Will issue is something the person is not willing to do it. What may come, the help from the manager, best of the training, support from colleagues, support from the senior management, the person is not willing to do it. And second is the skill issue. The person does not know how to do it. The skill can be solved by doing certain training. Skill can be solved by manager support. Skill can be solved by how HR can intervene and make sure that person gets to that point where the person is into the right project, into the right job which the person wants to perform. The will issue is something which you can't solve for. If the person is not willing, I think a clear station or probably a clear mindset of a performance improvement plan is the way how you can still give a chance to an employee to do something in a tenure time of 1 month, depending on what is your PIP for the company. A PIP can be 1 month to 3 months. Depending on how long is your PIP, you design your PIP process and make that person either perform that job or kind of part ways, which is a honest truth to be on here. So that's where I would, kind of differentiate between will and the skill issue.
Thank you, Chetna. Pradyuman would like to share your inputs on this.
You're on mute, Pradyuman. You're on mute.
Can you repeat the point? I will just.
Actually, the person was asking, we have employees in the company. What would be the scenario if somebody is not performing?
He's capable of, but he's not performing.
Non-performance is unacceptable. That is the point. We cannot accept non-performance in an organization because we can provide all help. We can definitely, those PIPs, performance improvement plan, are answered to that if he needs. But even though if he doesn't improve, we have to show him the way. That is how organization work. You cannot keep any non-performer in your team for a long. But you need to put all your efforts making sure that if there is a chance of improvement, he should improve. We put, even if it's a year to be given, yes, a year to be given. And very careful, it's a very, very, very thoughtful decision of asking somebody to go out. But we normally as HR, we should not take that way. But if somebody is saying, no, I'm not going to take a corrective path, then definitely you can't help except saying that, yes, goodbye. But in my experience, I have seen that if you put your efforts on employees, if you put a focused mentoring or coaching, that helps, and people have that ability to come back with flying colors. And even those who are rated non-performer this year, they have scored much better than others in the next year. So my take is all efforts should be there to see that he improves. If he doesn't, it's his fate then.
So just to
Absolutely. I
add,
think
That's exactly
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I
please,
was,
please go ahead.
relating to the will issue. If the person has the capability, but there's a will issue, I think that's something you can't solve for, to be honest. Yeah, sorry, Ansh.
yeah. So just to add here, where technology comes in. So Zimyo has this 9-box metrics where we basically measure people on the basis of their skill and their behavior issue. So on the top right corner, there is a top skill and top behavior who is basically a top performer. And on the bottom left, there is someone who does not have a skill, who does not has behavioral issues. So that's how you measure. And we have implemented this across the departments. And it's the manager's responsibility to measure each and every person and to put each and every employee in this category. In all the 9 categories, or probably 1 or 2 categories we want to. So that's how we have bifurcated this, and you identify the person and you identify the people who actually are not able to achieve their performance. Either it's a skill issue or it's a behavioral issue, and basis that you ensure that if it's a skill issue, then you ask the manager to train him, and if it's a behavioral issue, then you give him you sit with him, you understand what's going on in his mind, and then you'll get to understand what exactly is happening, because that's where the technology play part comes in. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Hans. I think we had a good discussion on what is the purpose of PMS, and now let us move on the processes. So, Chetna, how do you see the 360-degree feedback and its effectiveness, and how it helps to bridge the communication gap between the managers and employees?
Absolutely. I think there are many companies who do just manager and employee performance evaluation, and they don't go 360 way. I think 360 way is a very effective tool to gauge an employee from many aspects. One, the skill, which I just talked about. How is he performing as in on his goals? How is he doing? What is he doing? What is expected out of him from a manager standpoint? At the same time, the stakeholder management. How is he with his stakeholders? What is he doing? How well can he coordinate? How well can he speak to his stakeholders? Then comes your colleagues. What is his behavior? Is he empathetic, or is he there to help them when it is required? The 360 works probably in a way that, it kind of gives and to just get that level of maturity to the system of the feedback. And that maturity comes when you understand 360. But then at the same time, 360 does not work across all industries. It is not the same way how it is actually designed for every industry. And I think somebody even, pointed it out to me long back. The 360 may not be irrelevant for me because I don't have any stakeholder management. I'm an IC. I do my work. I sit here. I don't know if one of my other colleagues in the other department giving me the feedback. Is he giving the right feedback because I've never interacted with him? So is it really relevant to do 360 for that person? May not be. But certain roles which are sales driven, marketing, for example, for Ansh, I'm sure today 360 works very well because today he and his team must be working cut across all teams and all departments. And they kind of take up their job, they kind of take up their goals, share their goals, make sure they go in the market, they do that analysis, they do that role on their behalf and get the productivity back for them. So it is a shared goal which they are having it today. So for 360 for in marketing would surely make sense, but may not be for some other department or some other industry to an extent as well. I'm not very sure. Pradyuman may share his views on how manufacturing industry works, to be honest. But for my industry, 360 to an extent really works well because we work across the teams. The tech works with product works with marketing works across all, HR works across all, and analytics works again across all. So for my industry, it works very well in the 360 to an extent which we did right now. We closed our annual review and we did the 360. we understood that it was very, very important for us to understand where exactly is the person having an issue. Is it the person behavioral issue? Is the person understanding what he's expected out of the job is an issue, or he needs some other mentorship? So that really worked well, and it gave us quite a feedback for an individual to act upon, to be honest. You're on mute, Ramesh.
Yeah, Pradman, would you like to add something?
I think perfectly defined by Chetna. But yes, the only comment which I can say that we still need more maturity to handle tools like 360 in Indian context. That is what I have experienced, because it still needs a honesty when you participate in 360-degree feedback. It is a very helpful tool. It is a very well-defined tool. In fact, we have moved to another level of talking about those competencies, where we are talking about strength-based leadership. We now say, as an assessment of all leaders, what are their competencies, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. It is discussed in a team, and at least I know that if I'm going to discuss with someone why he is responding in this way, and that is from which strength or which weak is coming, he is responding in that way. So such discussions which are very open. 360 is strength-based leadership, which we are now experimenting, is that we are discussing that this is my strength, this is my area of improvement, and please take me as I am. You should now, if I am not responding to your if I say my CFO is not responding quick on my proposals, I think he has certain competencies which are forcing him to do so. If he wants to go into details, he is the person who has eye on details. So I understand, then I have to give that time and leverage. So these are well-defined, experimented, well-thought of tools. I'm with Chetna that yes, these are things which always helps. But it is, again, I said that maturity which is required on 360 is very important. Otherwise, that happens. You scratch my back, I will scratch yours.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that sometimes is taken very wrong in terms of on the receiving side of the feedback as well. And the maturity needs to be there. And I think somebody needs to translate that message to that employee, that what does this 360 actually means to you. Ramesh, you're on mute, sorry.
Thank you so much, Pradman. Ans, I would like to come to you. The aligning the objective of the organization with the performance management system, that is important. So what do you think, what is the objective, how to align the objective with the performance management system, and what is the role of your PMS tools here?
So Ramesh, if I talk about aligning of the performance management system with so here what we do at Zimyo is we have set OKRs and KPIs and KRAs for each and every month, and it's also bifurcated into departments. So so let's say for marketing and sales. So marketing and sales go hand in hand. So if we could do more MQLs, we get more leads, more traffic, that will leads to more sales qualified leads, and that's how we'll get to more closures. So if we talk about the PMS system as such, where exactly the current performance objectives are the tools that we currently use here at Zimyo. So 360-degree feedback is something that we use. 9-box metrics that I mentioned, we definitely use it here. And setting up of OKRs and KPIs, ensuring that there is a regular weekly communication with the managers and with the stakeholders as such. So this ensures that the company objectives are met easily. So PMS is these tools are pretty crucial for us, and that's how we have done it. We have implemented this in other organizations as well, and we have seen results there. So yeah, so that's what I'd like to add to you.
Yeah, thank you, Hans. Actually, we have only the 5 minutes remaining now. One question is from the participant side. So that is related to the matrix. So which is the best matrix for the tech industry if we talk about the performance management? If anyone want to respond on this.
Pradyuman, would you like to take it?
I have never worked in tech industry. Please take it on.
Sure. So I think it's the approach basically from the tech standpoint. It's about again, which I just talked about from the technology industry. It is not the long-term goals which helps, because technology kind of changes every now and then. Therefore, we cannot have a very long-term goal when it comes to the tech industry. It has to be short-term. It has to be a mixed goal of subjectivity to objectivity, and a KRA are probably a goal setting to an extent. What is output and what is the idea behind that particular thing which you are doing? And it has to be done project wise. It has to be bifurcated in a simpler and a smaller modules, that it is delivered on set times, and it is kind of simplifies the productivity for that particular person. So that is what is required when it comes to the tech industry, are probably having the goals which cannot be long term, because it's so much evolving, and with the time, how the times are changing, we cannot bet on a very long-term escape for certain goals.
Right. Thank you, Chetna. Would you like to add something, Pradyuman?
No, it's fine. I think. So I'll explain.
Another question we do have from the, though it is not very clear what exactly is asking, but I am just reading the question. Do you think skip level meetings are necessary in current circumstances?
Yes, for me, if I ask me, it is very useful. It gives the confidence to both those who are participating, as a leader and as a participant, that yes, and we always talk about the power distance index in the organization, how it is good to have interaction between the last ladder of the hierarchy to the top one. When we talk about that, then skip level meeting always gives that, at least you are, as a leader, you are capturing aspiration of N-1. That becomes important, very important. And I have seen that people, those who are coming out of these skip level meetings, they feel empowered. They feel that, yes, they have say in the organization. When they go and they put their words to the top leadership, that becomes very important. At every level, skip level will help. That is what I will say. It helps. It helps.
So,
if you want to drive transparency,
please go ahead.
Skip level meetings are the best tools to drive transparency in the organization, because it is a transparent communication between every level. So that helps.
We have the 2 minutes remaining, and if we can take a concluding remark. So if your performance PMS system is mismanaged or misaligned, then what would be the effects on the organization and employee development? A concluding remarks, very short concluding remarks can have.
I think when we talk about robust process and systems, if I talk about employee engagement, I always talk, there are two ways of targeting employee engagement. One is a very robust process and system, transparent process and systems. And second is leadership-driven motivation. And if PMS is fair, PMS is one of the pillar of when we talk about transparent process and systems. So if PMS is misaligned, everything will go haywire. Now you can't then see that the alignment of individual energies with overall organization's goals, that will become difficult, and we will not able to achieve what we are planning to do for the year. So it's very important that we have a very robust PMS system in place, a commitment from leadership, and a trust which on the system by employees, that they should feel that this is something which is there for them, which is there for them, there to facilitate their performance. It is there to bring that performance orientation in the organization. That communication and that mindset employees should have. They should not feel that PMS is something they should be scared of. They should participate in a way that they should. It should bring value to the organization.
Yeah, thank you. Chetan would you like to add something?
I think performance management, I would just, the last closing comments from my side is, has changed from how it used to be earlier. It was a traditional way how performance management used to be done earlier, for just the sake of doing appraisals, having an yearly rating to get certain hikes, which has now changed to continuous conversations, a forum where you know what you're doing, how you can do well, and how productive you can be for the organization, which has now moved from just an goal setting to an OKR to systems, and now it is more a continuous conversation. So I think with this evolving way of changing, are probably evolving of the industries, I think important part is how you kind of adopt to this new thing and understand that whether we are remote working, we are in office, whatever way we are, this change has happened across, and this will continue to evolve as we move.
Any concluding remarks from your side?
So, Ramesh, I would like to say that the PMS is something that is going to stay for a long time, and whether it be any company or whether it be any department, it has evolved literally, and it should not be viewed as just as a standalone module or a standalone thing. But what it actually does is actually ensures that you build an employee loyalty, you build an employee. If you have an engaged employee force, you have an engaged workforce. People are aligned to the company objectives, so it also ensures that. So having continuous communication and driving all this through technology is what people should look at it, and that's where I feel the HR tech companies are growing, and you can see a lot of performance management specific companies also coming in, and there's a lot of horizontal stack companies like Zimyo who are also are there. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ansh. After the conversation, what I conclude that the purpose of PMS is obviously how we can enable our employees to perform better. So for this, we need to connect with the employees, and we need a regular and continuous conversation system, a transparent feedback that is needed, and the most important part, what the Chetna was talking in the beginning of this, that we need to train the managers who can share the feedback effectively, how they deliver the feedback, and how they let them know that they can perform better, what the weaknesses are there, what the points are there, where they need to work on, and they can also show that how they can work on this. So that is very important, because if the performance of the team is good, then it's very easy to tell them that that's excellent. But if the problems are there, so that time you need some skills, how you let them know that what the points are there, where they need to work. So I think we have had the good conversation on this part, and we have taken all the questions from the participants. We hope we had a learning session, and thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Pradyuman sir, Chetna ma'am, and Mr. Ans. Thank you so much for joining this.
Thanks, Ramesh. Thank you so much. Thanks to the lovely audience. Yep. Okay.